Hey, it's Joe Crump. Hypothetical zero down deals. This is a six-part series that I'm doing to explain all the different ways you can make offers on real estate with zero down. We're going to go into it in great detail, and I actually did this with my class, with my mentor students on a Zoom call, and we walked through these different exercises together. I hope you enjoy it. What this is, I've got a bunch of these different sort of hypothetical situations, and they all will have different answers based on um, what the numbers are. And we're mainly looking here not at what to say to the seller, but we're looking at how to actually structure the deal. Up in the right-hand corner here is the buy strategy. There's the purchase strategy, and then there's the exit strategy, the sell strategy. So the buy strategy there's 5 different zero down structures. If you have these 5 structures, these are all you will ever need. And there's different variations on each one, the slightly different variations on each one, but they're basically all fall into these 5 categories. And we're going to talk about what each one of these is. The exit strategy is you can either hold the property and rent it, or lease option the property. So these are long-term, where you keep it for your portfolio. Or there's 2 types of flips. You can either flip it on terms, say on a land contract, or a lease option, or you can flip it for cash out. Which is a cash out assignable deal, or also known as wholesaling. So you can flip it a couple of different ways. So your exit strategy is determined by your purchase strategy. So you purchase knowing what your exit strategy is going to be, or at least knowing what your options are going to be. And the way the hierarchy is set up, at the top of the hierarchy, the subject to, that gives you more options than the bottom structure. So if you want to have as many options as possible, so you want to try to get the most control, which is at the top of the hierarchy, and the most options, which is also at the top of the hierarchy. Your options diminish, and your exit strategies diminish as you go down this hierarchy. So let's talk about it specifically, about what those things are. Subject to is where you're transferring the deed to the property. Typically, this is with a property that already has a mortgage on it. So let's say you have, and I'll just use $100,000 property because it's a nice round number. So you got $100,000 property that has $100,000 mortgage on it. It's worth $100,000. It's got a mortgage, and that person is willing to let you take over the payments on their existing loan. And so you've got 30 years left on this mortgage, and the payment on it is $800 a month. They can deed you that property. So they'll sign a warranty deed that you can then record, and then you become the owner of that property. The mortgage is still on that property, and that mortgage still has to be paid. And if you don't pay it, then the bank takes it back. But as long as you make the payments, you're in good shape. You did not have to qualify for that mortgage. You didn't have to sign anything with the bank. All you had to do is have the seller sign a deed, a document that transfers it to you. The deed transfers the title of the property. A deed is the paper document that transfers the title of the property. And then you record that at the county recorder for a few bucks, or you have a title company record it for you, which is typically how we do it these days.
Joe, I want to butt in for 1 second. So subject to means subject to the underlying mortgage parameters, like whatever the original seller agreed to, like the interest and the terms and all that. So it's subject to those agreements already. That's where the slang comes from.
Subject to the existing loan.
Yep.
So that existing loan is there first. Now, every property you buy is subject to something. Even if you buy a property with cash, it's still subject to paying taxes. If you don't pay taxes, they take it back from you. So every property is subject to something, but this is specifically talking about subject to an existing loan.
And you're agreeing to keep those agreements with the bank when you take it over.
Exactly. And if you don't, it doesn't hurt your credit, but you screw the credit of the seller that you're working with. So you never take over a property that you cannot make payments on. If you do, you're doing something that's unethical. And there are people that have done that. I actually heard about a guy here in Indianapolis that took a bunch of subject to properties, and then he didn't make payments on any of them, but he collected rent. And he did this for a year, 2 years. The properties went into foreclosure. He collected the money, screwed up the credit of the people that he bought from, and they did a class action against him, and he got sent to jail for fraud. So don't take a property that you can't pay. And if you ever get into a point, and one of the things in our documents on the subject to documentation that we've got, because we have disclosures for it, we tell our sellers, if I ever get to a point where I can't make this payment, I'm going to give this property back to you. And if I can't make it, I'm not going to let it go late. I'll give it back to you. So you make sure that you can make the payment and always give it back to them before the next payment is due. If you know that you're not going to be able to make the payment, give it back to them before that next payment is due and let them deal with it. It's still their property. It's what you promised you would do, and it's what you have to follow through with. Don't ever get into a point where you give it back to them late.
And don't worry about any of this right now, because Joe's going to show you a document later on that he's laid it out in 2 pages of everything that you're going to promise the seller. It's all written out. You read that document, subject to will make total sense to you. So he'll show you that document later on, because he has a document that says, this is what you're promising, and the seller actually signs it. So it
Yeah.
goes
How many
up-
people are brand new here?
What's that?
How many people are brand new here that are just really focused on the for rent and making some money? And then how
Me.
many people are
Most of them here.
most everybody? Okay. Well, don't freak out and think that you won't learn this because there's so much, because let me tell you, I'm not the smartest person here and I figured it out. Anybody can do it. And I do it from a wheelchair, by the way. You guys might not realize that, but anybody can do this. This is not, it all builds on top of it. You know, just learn one basic thing, do that, learn another basic thing. You've got time, do it right.
If you make that one phone call, you'll find somebody that will allow you to do a subject to, which Joe will show you later. And you'll do that one deal, you'll have experience, and then the next time you might do a land contract, and the next time you might do a lease option. Your job is to lean on Joe. Lean on Joe with your numbers and let him guide you through it. That's what your job is to get Joe to help you with these deals. He'll walk you through it and you don't have to worry about it. That's why you're here.
And there's
My
one-
advice is to do as much as possible. That way you can come up with as many questions as possible and just bother Joe constantly. He loves it. Send him emails all the time and make him a good page or 2. That's what I did. Joe loved it.
Joe, he's setting you up, Joe.
Actually, I do like it. I do want you to send me your questions. And what I usually do is do a Loom recording and just record my answer. So I'll give you detailed answers to your questions as you go, or bring them to the conference calls that we do every 2 weeks, and we'll do it that way. Those are the best ways.
Aisha's got her hand up.
Is it okay if I ask a question right now, or are we moving on?
I like it. I like it so much that you ask so many questions. Like, that's the best. Whenever it's just me and Bill talking and everybody's just kind of looking at the screen, it's like, are we doing something wrong? What are we doing? I like the questions.
It's not even the fact that she's writing a check, the question, she's got a notebook there. She's like taking massive notes. I can see her writing this stuff down.
That's how you do it. That's how you do it. That's how you become a millionaire in 2 years or less.
That's my goal. Hey.
You're gonna do it.
So the question I had is, why on earth why would a seller want to do this? Like, if they don't have a mortgage, right? Like mortgage 0, and it only needs 30,000. Why would they allow me to just take their property?
Oh, there's as many reasons for that as there are sellers.
Okay.
So most of the time it's emotional, but there's financial reasons. I mean, people are not looking at they're wanting the problem solved, and they don't want to deal with any of it, basically. So you're solving their problem, plus they're getting paid, you're
they're
taking
just
off their
done.
hands.
Yeah, they're just done. And if they see a solution, and they believe that you'll actually follow through with what you promise, they'll abdicate their power to you, and they'll let you take it over.
Aisha, I think you have a little bit of a confusion. So the only time that you do subject to is if there's an underlying mortgage. If it was free and clear, you would not do subject to.
Okay,
I
got
missed
you.
that.
Because I was looking at mortgage 0, and I'm like, why would they? Okay, I got you. So
No,
if it's the existing mortgage, that's when you would offer subject to
Only if
as a
there's-
possibility.
Because it's subject to the existing mortgage.
Okay.
place.
Well, here's what's cool too. Earlier, Bill talked about refinancing the property. That was one of the things that I'm like, well, they need the money now. So what if you refinance the property and then turn the loan over to me and I take over the payments? You don't have any of the headaches. You don't have any of the responsibilities. You don't have to deal with tenants, and you get all your money and you go away. It's the best of both worlds. So if it's free and clear, they can refinance with the bank maybe and take out all their money, then turn it over to you subject to. So everybody wins.
So you're taking a free and clear house and turning it into a subject to deal because you got a loan on it.
And this sounds great to me.
So,
Sounds like what I want to be doing.
so,
yeah.
can I just add that I'm a case in point. So I have some property. I inherited it. It's 4 hours from where I live. I don't know anything about that area. The properties are free and clear, but I'm not going to be running down there and it's in the country and I'm from the city and I don't understand.
Joe's gonna teach you how to get boots on the ground.
Just
Joe's
put
gonna
your
teach you how to
number in
get
the
boots on
chat.
the
We'll
ground,
talk
so you
later.
don't gotta do it.
So, but I said that to say, Aisha, that I mean, I'm a case in point. I feel like I know I have to take care of the properties. They were left to me by somebody I love, so I'm emotionally attached to them, but I don't want to do the day-to-day stuff and I don't know what to do with them. But I know I'm not supposed to let them sit. So
How many are there?
and it's not many, it's just 2.
I think Bill
Okay.
wants to buy them.
But
No, Valerie, you should
So-
sell those houses on lease options, what we're talking about. We can get Joe to help you with that.
Yes.
okay, but I
That's
just want
how
you to know, Aisha, I'm on the other hand, I'm a potential, I'm a person who needs some help. I'm just not sure what kind of help I need, and I know I'm supposed to do something. So
Got you.
if you came to me, I would be like, this is my situation. This is what I'm trying to do. Does this make sense? Or do you have something better,
What state are
that
you
could
in?
help me? So
What
that's all
state?
I wanted to say.
What state are you in?
Thank you.
Oh, the properties are in Virginia. I'm in Maryland, but I'm not from either place. I'm from Chicago. So
Yeah, I just want to make sure because North Carolina is a little bit different, but Virginia, you're fine.
yeah. So, okay, that was it for me. Thank you.
So you should definitely send Joe an email after the event, asking him how you can, and you should also come to our weekly call, which I think is this week, our bi-weekly
Yeah.
call. And we should help you sell those properties on rent to own, and you should turn them into income.
Yep.
Got it. Thank you.
Valerie, do you have other siblings that are also sharing in this, or is it just you?
Nope, it's just me.
So you have control over them completely.
Yeah.
And the income that you can make from these is going to be much higher, and the profit that you make from them will be much higher if you keep them.
Yep.
And it's just, and the headache that it's going to take to get them set up to do this is probably going to be worth it
Oh yeah.
for your long-term portfolio. And I would encourage you to probably keep those properties, but we might want to talk about the condition of them and what still needs to be done and who's going to be able to manage them for you or handle them for you, and whether or not you need a manager or not.
So Valerie,
Thank
I
you.
strongly suggest that you send him an email, and then this Tuesday on the coaching call, you get on there and we'll talk about it.
Okay, thank you.
Perfect content for that coaching call.
Yeah. All right, so let's go back to the hierarchy.
Joe, you got Esther with her hand up.
Oh, Esther, go ahead.
Thanks. Thank you. Quick question I have is, how do you, say for them, you talk to them about all the stuff, the seller, and they ask you, oh, just send the lease option, the rent option, rent to buy option memo to me, I'll look at it. And they don't ever call back. I think I've asked
Yeah,
that question before.
They're just trying to get off the phone.
Okay.
That their yes is a no. That's
Mhm.
why you don't take yes for an answer.
Mhm.
So you don't take no for an answer. You ask them 5 times, get 5 no's. And when they say yes, you make sure you get 5 yeses. So when you get that yes, the next thing is you say, well, so are you good with this? You wanted $210,000 for the property. Are you good with that number? And they'll say yes. And if they're serious, and then you say, so, and we're doing this as a 3-year term. Are you good with that? Okay, just type that in there. Okay, are you good with that? Yes. Okay, you got a second yes. So you keep going through this process to get yeses to find out where the problem is. Because if they're saying yes to get you off the phone, which they may be doing here, then they're going to say, well, I really have to go right now. I'll call you back later. That's probably a no.
Mhm. Okay.
And you say, well,
So try to get as many yeses to solidify if it's a real yes before you send it.
exactly.
So earlier we talked about the no, people say no and they don't understand something, and that's a red flag for you to explain it.
Yeah.
Yes is insidious. They're lying to you because they might want to get you off the phone. So
Mhm.
if you notice when I talk to Daniel, if I can get him to sign the memorandum when I'm on the phone, that's going to cut through whether they're lying on the yeses or not.
And people are comfortable with white lies, but they're hard with compound white lies. If you just keep asking them, they'll eventually say, look, I'm really not interested. And then you find out why, or the answer or the problem will come out. They'll say,
The
look,
real problem.
I just really need this money because of this, and then you can address that issue, because
real
that's
need.
why they're not taking your call, because they think that it's not a solution. They don't think what you've got is the solution. And if you don't discover what the real problem is, you'll never get them to say yes.
Okay. Sounds good. Thank you.
It's only 2 things. One, you haven't tickled their pain point and they feel like you have a solution, or they think you're a scam and don't believe it. It's
Yeah.
usually one of those couple things. So you just keep poking around until you figure out what it is.
Thank you, Joe. Thank you, Bill.
So
So-
also, Bill, did you?
Before you start, I just wanted to say, when we're looking at this screen here, on the left side are all the numbers. That's what the potential deal could do mathematically. When Joe's talking about the buy strategy, that's what the seller's willing to do. And they don't match all the time. So like, if they're willing to let you take it subject to, as long as the numbers on the left work, that's fine. So don't think you look at the numbers on the side and you say, oh, this is a subject to deal. And then you get on the phone with them, they're like, no way I would put the deed in your name and keep the mortgage in my name. It may not, so there are 2. So when you're looking at the strategy, look at them differently. Like the numbers are the math doesn't lie. That's what the potential of the deal could do. And then when you start talking to them and talking about their problems and what they want, that's where the buy strategy comes in, because they're willing to do it or not willing to do it. And that's where the yeses and nos come in. Does that make sense?
Also look at the zero down structure hierarchy as a level of control. At the very top, you have the most control. At the very bottom, you have the least control. And so when you're the buyer of a deal, you always want to be in a situation where you have the most control. So you're at the top of the hierarchy. If you're a seller, you always want to give the least control to the other party. So that's why we sell on a lease option at the bottom of the hierarchy.
That's really good, Joe.
All right, so subject two is simply a transfer of the deed and you taking over the payments on the mortgage. And typically, you're not giving them any money for the equity, and there's usually not much equity in those types of deals anyway.